The Albanese government is even stronger this morning than it was when the weekend began. An historic victory in the Aston by-election gives Labor its 78th seat in the House of Representatives, growing its majority to 2. It's the first time in more than a century that a government has won a seat off an opposition at a by-election, and just the second time in the nation's history. Political editor Andrew Clennell with his analysis in a moment, plus our guests today, the Industry Minister Ed Husic and the newly elected Premier of New South Wales, Chris Minns. First, though, let's go live to our Victoria political reporter, Simon Love, who's in Aston, where the Prime Minister is due to appear later this hour, Simon.
Morning, Kieran. I've just lost communication with the studio, but I know you were thrown to me, so I'll persevere and push on. This is an interesting location for Anthony Albanese to arrive at this morning. He will be coming to a cafe on a victory lap alongside his candidate, the brand new MP for Aston, Mary Doyle, and you might be able to see a bit of a queue of people behind me. This is a bakery right next door, owned by the same mob as the cafe. They're not here for the fuss of the Aston by-election. They're here to get the hottest new delicacies in Bayswater. As for the reason we're here, the politics, the very fact that Mary Doyle has secured history, winning this by-election, this crucial contest for both Liberal and Labor, but securing history, 100 years of history, just absolutely beating that. It was a complete surprise to all last night, especially within Labor, that Mary Doyle could win this by-election. The very fact that the swings were certainly on early in Liberal heartland, particularly in Rowville, and also other booths that would notionally turn Labor, it really surprised all sorts of political observers, and the swing was certainly on early, and it certainly came very hard and fast for the Labor Party. So this morning, Anthony Albanese, after being in Tasmania for a function celebrating 120 years of Tasmanian Labor, that was a pre-arranged function that he'd committed to prior to the Aston by-election being called, so he was unable to be here, ultimately sending Richard Marles, his deputy, and also, the most senior Labor person in Victoria, to celebrate alongside Mary Doyle. What an amazing, historic moment we saw at the humble little Boronia Bowls Club last night. And this morning, the victory lap will no doubt begin, and I guess the recriminations will also begin for the Liberal Party. Peter Dutton now has to rebuild and somehow figure out where did it all go wrong for him in Aston. And also, the Liberal Party brand in Victoria is completely battered. I shared with you last night on the coverage that there will be serious questions asked of John Pesciuto and the state parliamentary team, and why there was so many shenanigans around about expelling one of those MPs. But we shall see what comes in the next couple of days. But the focus for now is Labor on this victory lap, Kieran.
Simon Love, thank you very much. Our political editor Andrew Clennell with me here in the Melbourne studio. And it's diabolical. It's diabolical for the Liberal Party and for Peter Dutton, this result.
It's a disaster. And the Liberal Party looks kind of unelectable at the moment. They look in a worse position, if it's possible, than when Scott Morrison lost 11 months ago. Peter Dutton's just got to hope this is the low point. The feeling is he's still the most credible option as leader, but he wouldn't want too many more events like this or he'd be losing the leadership. Labor made it a referendum about Peter Dutton. We saw that in their campaign material, and the voters spoke. They spoke against Peter Dutton. A lot of talk this morning about, she wasn't a local candidate, etc. That's relevant, but we're talking about a thumping here. It's around 53.5 to 47.5 from 48-52. It's a 5.5% swing as things stand. So the Libs are in real trouble. Richard Marles spoke about this last night with us, the Deputy Prime Minister. Let's hear from him and from Jane Hume on the Liberal side.
Now, I actually think it's bad for the Liberal Party, but it's bad for the country that we've got an opposition right now whose simple stance is to oppose, diametrically whatever the government puts forward. Ultimately, of course, that's going to be a matter for them. For our part, we're just going to be focused on doing what we have been doing, and that's governing in the nation's interests.
I don't feel any rumblings in the party room. He has a very united team behind him, and we do feel that he's the right man to lead us.
So for those who might be watching this and wondering, so why is it such a big deal? First time since 1920 that we've seen this happen, a government win one off the opposition. Normally you see swings around 4%, maybe sometimes even more, away from the government of the day. That hasn't happened. And this is meant to be the heartland Liberal seat now, Aston.
Yeah.
And they've lost it.
And it's not like there aren't a massive amount of cost of living pressures out there,
huge,
which the government could be blamed for. Rising interest rates, rising inflation, rising electricity bills. So how do you get a result like this? You only get a result like this if the Liberal Party is unelectable at the moment. And Peter Dutton made this point last night, Kieran. She said, yes, they're opposing everything, like when I was Chief of Staff to Tony Abbott, we did, that the government's doing. But we had alternatives. Peter Dutton is not putting up alternatives. Look, it's only 1 year in, we know. But it could be a year and a half and there could be another general election. So he needs to start giving people reasons to vote for him, is what Peter Dutton was saying.
You cannot win without a contest, and we're not offering a contest. In a lot of these races, state and federal, we are not offering a contest.
But Peter Dutton's, Peter Dutton's really clearly nowhere near Labor on so many issues.
But where's the contest with Peter Dutton? As I said, yes, he's voting no, but what is he offering as the alternative? What is the reason to vote for the Liberal Party? Where's the reason to vote for the Liberal Party? I mean, Tony Abbott had a negative in all that mantra, stop the boats. Vote for us to stop the votes, vote for us to fix the debt. There was a negative in all of that, but it was phrased as a positive vote.